Oops, here's something was off with the camera. We are learning the laws of Yom Tov, the holidays. We just came from them. Okay, Chol Hamoed is intermediate days, right? We're in chapter 7. Although Chol Hamoed, the intermediate days, is not referred to as Shabbos, since it is referred to as a holy convocation, right? It's called Mikra Kodesh. And it was in the time when the Chagiga sacrifices were brought in the temple. It is forbidden to perform labor during this period, so that these days will not be regarded as ordinary weekdays that are not endowed with holiness at all. A person who performs forbidden labors and these is given stripes for rebelliousness, and the prohibition is rabbinic in origin, right? So you're not allowed to do only rabbinic law, though. But that's not the way it is today. Like the labor, uh, this is speaking about the way it is in the times of the Holy Temple, because today, for example, someone who doesn't eat, like, could not work, should not work, right? But someone who works for somebody has no choice, they can go to work, right? So it's interesting over here, like in the times of the Holy Temple, so they would bring the holiday sacrifice at that time, Chol Hamoed, and people remember were there the first days already, right? Right. Aliyah L'Regel, they made Aliyah, right? And so sometime, I guess they would even stay, maybe some people would stay, maybe they go home during the intermediate days, perhaps. So essentially, though, it's something that should not be a day of performing work. Not all types of servile labor is forbidden on the holiday, are forbidden on it. For the intent of prohibition is that they should not be regarded as an ordinary weekday with regards to all matters. Therefore, some labors are permitted on it and some are forbidden. So these are the labors that are permitted. In labor that may be performed if it would result in a great loss, if not performed, provided it does not involve strenuous activity. So what is implied? We may irrigate parched land on Chol Hamoed. You can't do that on a holiday, right? That you can't do on a holiday, right? But you could do that on Chol Hamoed. The trees, for if the parched land is not irrigated, the trees on it will be ruined. When a person irrigates such land, he should not draw water and irrigate the land using water from the pool or rainwater, which this involves strenuous activity. He may, however, irrigate it using water from the spring, whether an existing spring or a spring that must be uncovered anew. He may extend the spring and irrigate his land using this water. The same applies in all similar situations. A person may turn over his olives during Chol Hamoed, grind them, press them, fill jugs up with the oil and seal them as he does on weekdays. Right? You can't do that on the holiday unless you can't do that on a holiday. Why? Because that's something that can be done before the holiday. You're allowed to cook on the holiday and do those things that would make the food, like you can cook on the holiday because the food cooked on the day is better food than it's cooked before the day, right? Like rather than leftover, so to speak. Yeah, of course. But here, grinding the olive oils, I don't think the oil's better today than it would be, you know, taken from yesterday. Whenever failing to perform labor would lead to a loss, one may perform the labor in an ordinary way without deviating from one's regular practice, right? So let's say you have a business and you're going to lose, right? And now it's a busy season, or you're going to lose money if you're not open. You're allowed to open, right? Now, by the way, you could choose not to, obviously, right? But you're allowed to because this is only rabbinic in nature that we should not lose regard for the holiday, for the intermediate days, because the Torah does call it a proclamation of holiness. Similarly, a person may bring in his produce to protect it from thieves, provided he does so discreetly. A person may remove his flax from soaking so that it will not become spoiled. One may harvest a vineyard during Chol Hamoed if his time to harvest has come. Now, it's forbidden for a person to delay the performance of these or similar labors intentionally so that he might be able to perform them during Chol Hamoed when he has free time. He's too busy beforehand, so he's going to do it Chol Hamoed. No, that you can't do. Whenever a person ignores his work, leaving it for Chol Hamoed with the intention of performing it then, and actually begins to do so, the Jewish court must destroy the fruits of his labor and or declare it ownerless, free to be acquired by anyone. Wow. If a person delayed his work with the intention of performing a Chol Hamoed and died, we do not punish his son and cause him a loss. On the contrary, we do not prevent the son from performing the labor of Chol Hamoed so that he will not suffer a loss, right? Because he didn't delay it to be done on Chol Hamoed. So no, so we encourage him, do it. We don't want you to lose. Okay, the following rules apply when a person must sew a garment or build a structure on Chol Hamoed. If he is an ordinary person and not skilled in the performance of this labor, he may perform it in his ordinary manner. If, however, he's a skilled craftsman, he must deviate from the ordinary practice and perform the labor as an ordinary person would. What does it imply? When sewing, he should sew stitches. Sorry, 1 second. So he should sew stitches as a weaver would. When building, he should place the stones down, but should not put mortar upon them. One may smooth plaster over cracks on a roof with a roller with one's hands and with one's feet, as one would do with a trowel. The same applies in other similar situations. So the professional has to be non-professional. I don't know what that means exactly. Like, he can't do something that would not be, a good job, though. Yeah. Okay. The following rules apply when a person has grain that is still growing in the ground and he has no other food to eat except this grain. Right? Although he would not suffer a loss if he did not harvest the grain, we do not require him to buy what he needs at the marketplace and wait until after the festival to harvest. Right? See, so you could tell him, listen, I'll go buy your food that you need for the holiday, right? But he has the food. It's just going to entail lots of work. So he said, okay, you can do it. Instead, he may harvest the grain he needs, collect it in sheaves, thresh it, winnow it, separate it, and grind it, provided he does not thresh it with oxen. Now he's got to do it differently. For any labor performed during Chol Hamoed that does not involve the loss must be performed in a manner departing from the norm. Same applies to similar situations. I'm going to stop here. We're not supposed to write on Chol Hamoed. Write, unless you have to. Right? So my son Mendel didn't go to vote early. Today's the last day to pre-election voting because there's writing involved. It's interesting. If you have to, then you can, and if you do, then you have to do it with doing it differently. So you write the first line, you write like on an angle rather than straight. In other words, what you're doing is being mindful that today's Chol Moed, and I have to celebrate this day and make and bring holiness into the day, right? Even though biblically you could do all of these things, but the rabbi said, no, 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 don't do them unless done like as we went through. All right. Yes, fascinating as always. All right. Thank you.